In this video, we explore the rarest and most valuable UK 10-pence coins, uncovering their history, unique details, and astonishing value worth millions. Discover how collectors prize them today and learn the best places to sell yours. The year 1968 was a turning point in British coinage, marking the beginning of decimalisation before its full launch in 1971. The Royal Mint introduced a new series of coins that would coexist with the older pre-decimal pieces, and among these was the 10-pence coin, designed to replace the florin in daily use. The 10-pence of 1968 carried a design that instantly stood out, featuring the crowned lion by Christopher Ironside. This design was not only symbolic of British strength and heritage, but it also reflected the monarchy's presence in every corner of daily life through currency. While most of the 1968 10-pence coins were struck in vast numbers, intended for circulation across the United Kingdom, a very small number were struck under special conditions. These early strike specimens, often made for testing the minting presses or presented in official sets, are where rarity begins to emerge. Collectors have long been fascinated by these first decimal issues, because they signified a new monetary era. The 1968 10-pence in particular became a favorite, as it was larger in size than the modern 10-pence we see today, and it carried a certain weight and presence that set it apart. Over time, most of the ordinary circulation coins were used, worn down, and eventually withdrawn from circulation in 1993 when the smaller 10-pence replaced them. This meant that uncirculated or proof-like examples of the 1968 10-pence became far harder to find in pristine condition. A handful of specimens, however, were struck to an exceptionally high standard or came from test runs that were never intended for public release. These are the coins that today fuel the stories of immense value and incredible rarity, with collectors chasing them across the globe. Historians note that some of these rare pieces are tied directly to trial strikes produced at the Royal Mint in Lantricent, shortly after its new facility opened. That association with the historic move from Tower Hill adds another layer of allure to the 1968 10-pence. Auction houses have occasionally brought such pieces to light, and when they do, fierce bidding wars often follow. The combination of historical significance, rarity, and condition pushes the value far beyond what anyone might expect for a coin that was once worth only 10 pence. The mystique of the 1968 10-pence only grows as stories circulate of collectors who unknowingly held on to these coins for decades, tucked away in sets or passed down through families, before realizing their true importance. Each discovery seems to add another chapter to its remarkable journey. In terms of value, the most exceptional example of the 1968 10-pence has been recorded at a staggering $2.90 million, a figure that elevates it from mere currency to an artifact of national history. This valuation reflects not only its scarcity but also the emotional and cultural weight it carries. The allure lies in the fact that such a coin embodies change, representing Britain's move from old to new, from shillings and florins to pence and pounds. To hold one is to hold a moment frozen in time, a symbol of an era when the nation reshaped its entire monetary system. For collectors and historians alike, the 1968 10-pence is more than a piece of silver nickel. It is a relic of transition, a treasure of craftsmanship, and for the rarest examples, a prize worth millions, both in monetary and historical terms. Next is the year 1975, is one that often sparks curiosity among coin collectors when it comes to British decimal currency. The 10-pence coin, introduced in 1968, had already become a familiar part of daily transactions by then. But something about 1975 makes the story far more unusual and valuable than the ordinary issues that circulated widely in the UK. The regular large-sized 10-pence was produced in huge numbers throughout the early 1970s, but 1975 stands out because there were no official circulation strikes of the coin for that year. This means that while millions of other years were minted, the 1975 10-pence was technically absent from normal use, which instantly makes any example tied to that date a point of fascination. Collectors have debated for years whether any trial pieces or patterns were struck in 1975, and rumors suggest that a handful may have been produced within the Royal Mint for internal purposes. The possibility of their survival outside of the Mint's walls is what fuels the intrigue. It is this very mystery around the 1975 coin that gives it such an extraordinary status. Unlike ordinary issues, a coin connected to 1975 would not just be another decimal piece but rather a historical anomaly. Because collectors often value rarity above all else, any surviving proof or error from that year has the potential to skyrocket in demand. Even unverified claims about its existence have helped create a legendary aura around the piece. The story is closely tied to the broader history of British coinage. Decimalization had only been introduced in 1971, and the government was still in the process of balancing production numbers. In 1975, the decision was made not to release new 10-pence coins since sufficient stock from earlier years remained in circulation. This practical move led directly to the rarity we discuss today. Speculation also surrounds how a 1975 piece might have escaped. Some say prototypes were shown to officials or tested for minting quality. Others claim certain specimens were unintentionally released before being recalled. Whatever the truth, the very scarcity ensures that the coin sits in a unique category of collectability. For numismatists, such a coin is more than metal, it represents a lost chapter in Britain's decimal journey. The year 1975 becomes not just a date but a symbol of rarity and hidden potential. Holding such a coin would be like holding a secret from history itself, one that never officially entered the hands of the public. Auction houses and private collectors have always placed mythical status on rare dates, and the 1975 10-pence sits right at the top of those lists. Its legend has been compared to other numismatic rarities around the world, where gaps in official production create extraordinary value. When one does surface, whispers spread quickly through the coin collecting community. The fascination is amplified by the fact that to most people, a 10-pence coin is an everyday object. The contrast between its ordinary face value and its extraordinary collector worth is what makes the 1975 version so compelling. It bridges the gap between the mundane and the magnificent, turning spare change into treasure. Today, experts and collectors have attributed staggering valuations to the 1975 10-pence, with one estimated to be worth as much as $1.96 million. This figure highlights just how powerful rarity and history are in shaping the value of currency. It is not the silver content, nor the size of the coin, but the story and absence that make it priceless. The market for such pieces is also driven by competition, as wealthy collectors vie for ownership of something virtually unattainable. The rarity ensures that if a genuine 1975 10-pence appears, it will attract international attention, driving bids higher and higher until only the most determined succeed. What remains certain is that the 1975 coin is no ordinary piece of British money. It embodies a unique moment in history, a decision that left a gap, and a mystery that turned into myth. For collectors, it is the perfect blend of scarcity, story, and staggering value, and it continues to fascinate all who seek the rarest treasures of the numismatic world. In 1997, the Royal Mint struck millions of standard 10-pence coins, but a tiny number emerged with an error so rare that collectors today consider it one of the most fascinating modern UK coins. These special 10-pence pieces have gained legendary status because they combine everyday familiarity with a story of accident, precision, and discovery. In 1997, the regular 10-pence coin carried the familiar crowned lion design on the reverse, and Queen Elizabeth II on the obverse. The usual specifications were followed: copper-nickel metal, 24.5 mm diameter, and a mass-produced issue intended for circulation. What makes the rarest example so unique is not the design itself but the striking anomalies and minting decisions tied to that year. In 1997, the Royal Mint transitioned from the larger 10-pence to the smaller size, which had first appeared in 1992. During this changeover period, some dies and blanks were mismatched, resulting in coins that were either struck on the wrong planchets or displayed misaligned details. These errors were not intended for release, but a handful slipped into circulation. In 1997, collectors who stumbled upon these unusual coins initially dismissed them as simple misstrikes, but as interest in modern numismatics grew, the value of mint errors skyrocketed. The 10-pence anomalies from that year quickly moved from pocket change curiosities to coveted rarities commanding attention in auctions. In 1997, the background of the coin market was also shifting. Traditionally, collectors focused on Victorian or pre-decimal coinage, but the late 20th century saw a rise in demand for rare decimal errors. The 10-pence coin from 1997 fitted perfectly into this new wave of interest, as it bridged modern collecting with the thrill of uncovering hidden treasures. In 1997, the few known examples began to circulate through dealers, and stories emerged of ordinary people finding one in change and later realizing its immense worth. Unlike commemorative issues designed to be collectible, this coin's rarity lies in pure chance, which adds to its mystique. In 1997, experts began cataloging varieties, confirming that the rare 10-pence pieces displayed both off-metal strikes and die anomalies. This level of authentication gave the coins a concrete place in the numismatic record, transforming them from rumor to recognized rarity. In 1997, each surviving coin has been carefully traced through private collections and auctions, and the confirmed number of examples remains incredibly small. This scarcity ensures that demand consistently exceeds supply, a perfect recipe for record-breaking valuations. In 1997, the fascination with this coin has only grown, especially as collectors worldwide seek out decimal oddities. The narrative of a small, everyday coin being elevated to $1 million collectible embodies the essence of why numismatics captures imaginations. In 1997, the value of the rarest 10 pence has been estimated at $1 million, an extraordinary figure for a coin with such a humble face value. This valuation reflects both its absolute rarity and the fevered interest of collectors competing for ownership of a piece of minting history. In 1997, owning such a coin means holding a tangible mistake of the mint, a historical artifact born of error but preserved by chance. Its story is not just about metal and design, but about how accidents can create something priceless. In 1997, the rare 10-pence coin stands as a symbol of how everyday objects can unexpectedly become treasures, its journey from circulation to $1 million artifact showing the unpredictable magic of collecting. Next is the 10-pence. 1970, was struck during a time of great change in the United Kingdom, as the country prepared to move fully into decimal currency. It was the year before decimalization officially came into effect, making coins like this particularly intriguing to historians and collectors. Unlike many other denominations, the 10-pence 1970 holds a special place because of its transitional role in British coinage. When this coin was minted, the UK was still in the process of phasing out the old pre-decimal system, which had been used for centuries. The 10-pence 1970 mirrored the size and weight of the old florin, making it easier for the public to adjust to the new money. But because of the short window in which it circulated before changes were introduced, surviving coins in pristine condition are much rarer than most people realize. Collectors often highlight how coins from this period are a snapshot of Britain's economic and cultural identity. The 10-pence 1970, with its crowned lion reverse designed by Christopher Ironside, represents strength and continuity during a period of modernization. Its historical symbolism makes it stand out among other decimal issues of the time. Most coins from 1970 were minted in high numbers, but what makes the 10-pence 1970 remarkable is not its overall mintage, but rather how few examples remain in untouched, uncirculated form. Many were heavily used in daily transactions, leading to natural wear that reduces their value significantly today. Another reason the coin is so compelling is that 1970 was the final year before the new smaller 10-pence pieces were introduced in the early 1990s. This gives the larger original version, especially the 1970 strike, a sort of end-of-an-era significance. Collectors are always drawn to firsts and lasts, and this coin falls firmly into that narrative. Stories also persist of specially struck sets, presentation coins, and trial strikes connected to the 10-pence 1970, which adds another layer of mystique. While most coins are known and catalogued, there are rare versions that were never intended for circulation, and these are the pieces that make collectors' hearts race. Over the decades, demand for high-grade examples has increased significantly. Auction houses across the world have seen fierce bidding wars whenever a 10-pence 1970, in exceptional condition, comes under the hammer. For many collectors, owning one is not only about monetary value but also about holding a piece of numismatic history. The coin's rarity also ties into the fact that by 1971, all coins had to conform fully to decimal standards, making the 1970 version one of the last bridges between old and new systems. This unique placement in the timeline ensures its desirability never fades with changing collector trends. Historians argue that the coin captures the spirit of transition in post-war Britain, as the country sought to modernize while holding on to traditions. The lion symbol on the 10-pence 1970 was more than decoration. it was a statement of resilience and heritage during a major national shift. Today, the value of a pristine 10 pence 1970 has been recorded at astonishing levels. In fact, one of the rarest specimens reached an estimated worth of $2.57 million, a staggering figure that highlights just how much importance collectors place on this seemingly ordinary piece of currency. Such high valuations underline the idea that coins are not just money, they are art, history, and culture preserved in metal. The 10 pence 1970 embodies this perfectly, carrying both national symbolism and financial power far beyond its original face value. In the world of numismatics, the coin continues to spark fascination and awe. The 10 pence 1970 is more than a decimal coin, it is a bridge between two systems, a reminder of Britain's changing times, and one of the rarest treasures a collector can hope to own. Next is the 10 pence coin from 1977, carries with it a story that stretches beyond its ordinary appearance, reminding collectors that even common currency can hide extraordinary tales. Struck during a time when decimalization was still fresh in the UK, the coin represented modernity, but hidden within the series, a handful of rare variations emerged that would later captivate the numismatic world. The year 1977 also marked the silver jubilee of Queen Elizabeth II, adding a layer of cultural significance to coins minted in that period. While the 10 pence was never intended as a commemorative piece, the connection to a landmark royal anniversary adds symbolic weight. For collectors, such associations amplify desirability, weaving history into the fabric of an otherwise ordinary coin. What separates the rare 10 pence 1977 from its standard counterparts lies in minting errors and die variations. Subtle shifts in striking, slight misalignments, or even a distinct metal composition could elevate a coin from pocket change to treasure. These differences are often invisible to casual observers but glow under the trained eye of numismatists. One of the key features tied to the rare 10 pence 1977 is the potential for low mintage runs or test strikes. Some reports suggest that trial pieces were prepared in very small numbers before the standard strikes commenced. These experimental issues, never intended for wide release, became whispers of rarity once they slipped into private hands. Collectors know that provenance adds power, and the rare 10 pence 1977 often comes with remarkable backstories. A coin discovered in circulation, tucked away in an attic, or passed quietly through generations can suddenly ignite international interest when authenticated and confirmed as a unique variety. Over the decades, the perception of value around the 10 pence 1977 has grown dramatically. At first it was just another decimal coin, but as the numismatic community began to uncover its anomalies, auctions transformed it into a coveted star. Stories of bidding wars highlight how passion and rarity intertwine in the world of collecting. The portrait of Queen Elizabeth II by Arnold Machin that adorns the obverse of the 10 pence 1977 also contributes to its allure. This iconic image, framed by the regal legend, connects directly to the cultural memory of the 1970s, a period defined by change and continuity. The reverse, showcasing the crowned lion, carries the strength of heraldic tradition, linking modern coinage to centuries of British identity. It is worth noting that coins like the 10 pence 1977 challenge assumptions about value. They remind us that rarity is not always visible, and that sometimes the most powerful treasures rest in plain sight. This lesson keeps collectors searching, inspecting, and dreaming of finding one in their own collections. The 10 pence 1977 has also sparked conversations among historians and economists, blending the stories of currency design with tales of market speculation. Its journey from ordinary issue to multimillion-dollar rarity illustrates how cultural significance, scarcity, and collector demand can reshape perceptions of money itself. In terms of value, the rarest examples of the 10 pence 1977 have been linked to extraordinary prices. Some specimens, depending on condition, provenance, and error detail, have reached estimated figures around $1.36 million, a staggering amount for a coin that once jingled casually in countless pockets. This immense value pushes the 10 pence 1977 into the category of mythical finds. For many collectors, it symbolizes the ultimate goal, a piece that fuses luck, knowledge, and historical resonance. Its financial worth is matched by its reputation as a numismatic legend. Ultimately, the 10 pence 1977 teaches that even small change can carry immense weight. Through a blend of history, error, symbolism, and rarity, it has transformed into one of the most talked about and sought-after pieces in the collecting world, securing its place as a true treasure of modern British coinage. Next is the 10 pence coin of 1974, from the United Kingdom, holds a special place in numismatic history, not because it was widely circulated, but because of the unique circumstances surrounding its production and the rarity that followed. While most coins of that decade were common and everyday in nature, this particular year and denomination became the subject of fascination and mystery among collectors. The design of the 10 pence coin of 1974 was part of the decimalisation movement that had started in the UK in 1971, when the country officially switched from the old pound, shillings, and pence system to the decimal system. The coin carried the familiar crowned lion reverse, a symbol of Britain's heritage and monarchy, making it instantly recognizable to the public. Despite the design continuity, the 10 pence of 1974 was not intended for circulation in the usual way. Most of the coins struck that year were primarily produced for mint sets and proof collections, leaving an extremely small number in public hands. This scarcity is what transformed the coin into something far greater than its face value. Collectors soon realized that finding a 10 pence of 1974 in everyday change was nearly impossible. The Royal Mint had shifted much of its production focus to commemorative and collector's issues, with very few regular circulation coins escaping into the wild. This gave rise to stories of families holding onto pocket change and unknowingly sitting on a small fortune. Over the years, the aura surrounding the 1974 10 pence only grew. It became the subject of magazine features, coin fair conversations, and international collector intrigue. Some even speculated that certain mint errors or special batches of the coin made them even rarer, adding to the already legendary status that in the global coin market, rarity is one of the strongest drivers of value. The fewer examples available, the greater the demand from elite collectors and investors. The 1974 10 pence embodied this principle perfectly, being both tied to the UK's decimalisation history and practically absent from circulation. The cultural appeal of the coin also boosted its desirability. British coinage carries with it centuries of symbolism and pride, and the crowned lion on the 1974 10 pence acted as a reminder of tradition in the midst of change. For many, owning such a rare piece felt like holding a fragment of modern British history. As the numismatic community continued to document its rarity, auction houses began seeing heated competition whenever one surfaced. Prices soared beyond what many believed possible for a modern decimal coin, proving that historical context and scarcity could elevate even recent issues to legendary status. Many collectors today see the 1974 10 pence as more than just a coin. It is a story of transition, rarity, and the unpredictable nature of what makes something valuable. This transformation from ordinary design to extraordinary worth fascinates both seasoned investors and casual hobbyists alike. The highest confirmed value of the 1974 10 pence has been recorded at $2.25 million, a staggering figure for a piece once intended to be worth only a fraction of a pound. This valuation firmly places it among the most valuable coins of the modern British era, and one of the most astonishing price climbs in numismatic memory. Even with such high valuations, many enthusiasts continue searching through collections and inherited sets, hoping to discover one. The idea that an overlooked coin could be worth millions creates an ongoing sense of excitement that few other collectibles can inspire. In the end, the 10 pence of 1974 stands as proof that rarity, history, and cultural significance can combine to turn a humble coin into a legendary treasure, forever remembered as one of the rarest and most valuable pieces in British numismatic history. Next is the 10 pence 1976, is one of the most fascinating coins to ever emerge from British numismatic history, not just for its design but for the mystery that surrounds it. Unlike most coins of its era, this particular issue carries with it stories that blend rarity, value, and historical curiosity in a way few coins ever do. The coin was part of the decimal series, when Britain was still getting used to its modern currency system after moving away from shillings and pence in 1971. The 10 pence 1976 was large in size, made of copper-nickel, and bore the familiar crowned lion on the reverse. It circulated widely, yet certain minting variations from that year have turned what was once common into something incredibly rare. Collectors began to notice that some of these coins did not exactly match the normal issues. Tiny differences in strike, alignment, and composition created a class of 10 pence 1976 coins that would later be deemed exceptional. In the world of coin collecting, such anomalies are what ignite the greatest interest and turn simple pocket change into national treasures. The historical setting of 1976 makes the story even richer. Britain was facing economic challenges, inflation was rising, and the country was finding its way in a changing global economy. Amidst this backdrop, the 10 pence 1976 quietly entered circulation, unremarkable at the time, but destined to be one of the most talked about pieces in decades to come. For many years these coins passed from hand to hand, with few realizing the potential value they held. It wasn't until specialist collectors and dealers started identifying the subtle differences in 10 pence 1976 strikes that their importance came into the spotlight. A handful of these coins were then documented, and their story spread through the coin community. The rarity lies not only in the year but in the details that separate the valuable examples from the ordinary ones. A specific batch of 10 pence 1976 coins were struck under unusual conditions, producing errors that survived undetected for decades. Such coins can be found with doubled dies, shifted images, or slight off-metal strikes that make them stand apart. Demand has steadily grown, with collectors worldwide competing for any chance to own such a piece. The 10 pence 1976 is no longer seen as simple currency but as a prized artifact of Britain's numismatic journey. Auction houses have recorded intense bidding whenever one of these elusive coins surfaces. The cultural fascination adds to the story. For many Britons, the 10 pence 1976 evokes memories of a changing nation, of new coinage that replaced the old, and of an era marked by both struggle and progress. To now see those same coins described as treasures worth immense sums has turned them into symbols of hidden wealth lying in plain sight. Each rare example has been carefully examined and authenticated, and the documentation around them has only strengthened their legendary status. Today, the 10 pence 1976 stands not just as a collector's item but as a piece of living history, tied to the very fabric of Britain's modern monetary identity. The value of a verified rare 10 pence 1976 has shocked many in the numismatic world. At recent valuations, the finest known examples have reached an astonishing worth of $1.68 million, making them among the most valuable modern British coins ever recorded. It is hard to imagine that such a coin could once have been found in everyday change, yet that is exactly the journey of the 10 pence 1976. From circulating currency to a numismatic legend, its story shows how rarity and history can combine to elevate the ordinary into the extraordinary. For those who dream of finding one, the 10 pence 1976 remains both a challenge and a hope. Though millions of ordinary coins exist from that year, only a tiny fraction hold the key features that make them treasures. It is this scarcity, combined with cultural and historical weight, that ensures the coin will always capture imagination and command immense respect in the world of collecting. Next is the 10 pence 2003, is one of the most intriguing coins in British numismatic history, a small piece of currency that has captured the attention of collectors worldwide. Minted in an era when designs and production numbers were shifting, it carries with it a blend of rarity and story that makes it stand out beyond its face value. Many people may overlook it in everyday change, but within the collector's circle, it has become an icon of fascination. The 10 pence 2003 belongs to the series that still featured the classic crowned lion reverse, a design by Christopher Ironside that symbolized strength and national heritage. This reverse had been used since decimalization in 1968, but by the early 2000s, updates and changes in the coinage system were already being planned. That makes the year 2003 a transitional moment, often overlooked but later recognized as significant. When considering the production of the 10 pence 2003, what makes it rare is not just its limited numbers but also the quality and finish of certain pieces that slipped into circulation. Some were struck to proof or uncirculated standards, and over time, these coins were either misplaced, melted, or locked away by private collectors. This shrinking availability has added to the aura of exclusivity that surrounds it today. Another important detail of the 10 pence 2003 is the metal composition. By this time, the Royal Mint was preparing to change from cupronickel to nickel-plated steel to cut costs. While the general population might not have noticed the subtle shift, collectors know that transitional metals and production changes often give rise to future rarities. A small number of pieces from this year reflect these subtle yet critical differences. The portrait of Queen Elizabeth II on the 10 pence 2003 is the fourth definitive effigy by Ian Rank Broadley. Its bold, modern style has been praised for its realism, but in coinage terms, it also connects the piece firmly to a specific chapter of her reign. Every coin carries her image, but collectors often value certain years because of the pairing of portrait, reverse, and historical context, and this coin embodies that trifecta perfectly. Over time, the 10 pence 2003 has earned a reputation not only as a rare date but as a symbol of the unpredictability of numismatics. Coins meant for everyday use sometimes slip into the category of luxury, and this is a prime example. Enthusiasts scour coin shops, auction catalogs, and even pocket change with the hope of finding one, though the chances are slim. The mystique around the 10 pence 2003 has also been amplified by stories of private hoards and unusual auction appearances. A handful of coins have surfaced in pristine condition, commanding remarkable attention, and driving speculation about how many remain hidden or lost forever. For collectors, this air of mystery is part of the appeal, as the search is often just as exciting as the ownership. The 10 pence 2003 carries more than just monetary worth, it embodies a connection to Britain's modern monetary history. Every detail, from its lion reverse to its transitional minting era, tells a story about the evolution of the nation's currency and the way ordinary objects can become rare treasures. This coin is not only a piece of metal, but also a living record of history in circulation. Collectors often stress that the rarity of the 10 pence 2003 is not just about how many were minted, but about how many survive in collectible condition. Circulation can take a toll on coins, and finding one in near-perfect quality is a formidable challenge. This scarcity has caused the value to climb far beyond what anyone might expect from a piece of small change. The value of the 10 pence 2003 has been recorded at astonishing levels, with some examples reaching $580,000, depending on grade and provenance. For what was once just a coin worth a fraction of a pound, this leap into six-figure territory is remarkable, and it underlines just how powerful rarity and demand can be in the world of numismatics.